It has been a minute. It has been a minute. It's been a minute. December 10th, I think, was the last time I went live. Then I had an author on this podcast. Tonight, though, I'm going solo. First episode of 2026. Working on getting the lighting just so still. I've entitled the first episode out of the gate for 2026. Random thoughts sometimes breathe divine revelations by means of our human minds. Random thoughts sometimes breathe divine revelations by means of our human minds. One of the quotes I chose for this, the quote I chose for this episode is poetry is thoughts that breathe and words that burn. The English poet Thomas Gray. Now, 2025, with myself and some others, um, was a rocky year. In some ways, also a year of celebration. And I kind of delayed diving into 2026. And I got to the point today where I'm like, I just got to go for it. I just got to go for it. Regardless how I feel, regardless of what's happening, I got to go for it. I got to take a deep dive into this again, um, do a solo stream. And that's why I chose the title as I did. Sometimes we don't give ourselves enough credit, I think, as human beings for the things that we are able to do, the things we're able to create, the ways that we're able to move about in life. And in this episode, this is really what this is all about. Giving ourselves some credit for taking time to pause, making time to think through some things, navigate through some things. And out of those things, those thoughts, those things, I firmly believe come divine revelation. And tonight's also a challenge because the majority of my listeners, Life is About More Than Living, a Podcast listeners and subscribers, catch the show on Tuesdays and Thursdays. But here it is hump day, end of hump day, Wednesday, midweek. Some of us call it hump day in the South because it's getting over the midway point. I'm diving into this. I would like to ask you, though, out of the gate, please head over to Spotify after the show is over and subscribe to Life is About More Than Living. It costs you nothing more than a click to subscribe. Head over to YouTube. If you're catching it on YouTube, do likewise. Click and become a subscriber. Like in, I hope to go beyond 2025, bring some even more amazing people on the show. There's a bunch of hot topic things I could talk about, and I might touch upon this evening as we go deeper into this, such as what's happening with ICE, that group of individuals who've been giving this unlimited authority just to roll up on anyone and snatch them off the streets. I may dive into some deconstructing of Christianity as one of the random thoughts this evening. I may take a small, short dive just into how you come out of 2025, how you're now moving in the earlier part of 2026. And the comment box is there. I can see the comments that pop up. If there's something you would like me to touch upon, hit me up, leave it in the comment box. That means YouTube or Facebook or wherever you're catching it. But the biggest thing I ask of you this evening is to subscribe to Life is Up More Than Living. Let the numbers of subscribers grow in this year like it's never grown before. Let my numbers grow like they've never grown before. Tap into some of the amazing people that will come in on the show. Follow what they're doing once the show is over. Go back catch some older episodes even, and there's plenty of nuggets out there. This year alone, I was privileged to receive, finally, from one of my guests last year, Wings for Heroes, the T-shirt. There were times you will see me wearing that T-shirt on this show, wingsforheroes.org. You will also, from time to time, see it tagged. It's a great organization that supports veterans around the world. The Beam story is told on YouTube. Um, how he came out of 9/11, survived the falling of one of the Twin Towers, and founded the organization Wings for Heroes. So shout out to him should he be catching it from Turkey. He promised me a shirt. He gave me a shirt. One of the most amazing people I've had on this show last year. Now, in order for random thoughts to truly breathe life and create divine revelations, and some, if you get offended by me saying human thoughts creating divine revelations, if some, because of the biblical concepts, teachings, get offended by that, church upbringing, church engagement, I'm going to lay this out simply before you. There's a text somewhere in what we know as the New Testament that says God is within you or in you. So if God is part of who we are, our physical being, our mental being, He, God in some context, encircles, interacts with us, then that text shouldn't be a reason for you to turn away. Because he's doing a song that says the God in me. Therefore, if God in some context is within you, therefore divine revelations can come. Do I believe such? Yes, I do. I believe strongly in the spiritual realm. I will always believe in it. I am one who firmly believes that nothing just happened. We didn't just happen, as some may say. And even if you are one who believes in, God, I can't think of the word right now. uh, anyway, the word slipped my tongue. It's crazy. Uh, mm, it's funny how that word slipped my tongue. But it's the opposite of creation. Evolution. If you're one who firmly believes in evolution, it's your choice. But even if the smallest fire requires a spark. Just think about it that way. I'm not here to challenge that thought tonight. Thank you for those of you who came on and left. I hope you come back again. I'm not going to really be up here a very long time. It's just I want to emphasize again that our thoughts can create for us some amazing things. When I came out of high school in the 80s, I didn't have any, there was in my place of thought, no thought of a device as small as a laptop, the power that it possessed. Yet a random thought, perhaps by means of divine intervention, perhaps not, but a random thought someone had and the work they put into it has led to devices such as a laptop. Technology getting smaller, whereas a cell phone now has as much power as one of the major computers back in that time period. And that wasn't that long ago. I use the other quote that thoughts, poetry is thoughts that breathe and words that burn. As a poet, as an author, I have had some of my words to actually burn and cut people to the heart, hit them in a certain kind of way. Some of the things that I've written, I have read in front of audiences, have left me emotionally, mentally, spiritually drained, and they were my words. But out of the ashes, life came. So much like the phoenix, it burns and then it rises. Uh, Random thoughts. Now I am going to take a go at this. What's happening with ice? Now, these next few words, I'm speaking primarily to people of color, African American, Black, whatever way you refer to yourself. What's happening now with immigration and what I consider illegal immigration enforcement? What's happening now with that? And the way these individuals are violating so many people's rights and being allowed to do so? Don't kid yourself. We could be the next target. Some of us have been the next target because some of us look like a certain way. And they're brown skinned people. Do I think we're living in a turbulent time? Yes, I do. I think we all should be prepared in some context for the worst because now we live in an America when what the words on paper do not apply to anyone unless you look a certain way. Even with them, people look a certain way, these rules no longer apply. I think that's part of the uproar behind Renee Good. What happened to her, the murdering of her, the reflection of her complexion was not her protection. The reflection of her complexion was not her protection. We're in a time such as that now. Orwellian times. We're in a time of Fahrenheit 451, book banning. It's not down to book burning yet. We're in a time where words, random thoughts need to breathe life. The poets, the philosophers, the scribes, those who have been able to put pen to paper from the beginning of time have challenged the status quo and created change, have shown that the pen is mightier than the sword because when one is killed off, another person rises. Someone else rises to speak. Someone else rises to challenge what's happening in a society, in a culture. Someone else taps into the random thoughts, the collective thought that we are human before we of any race, creed, or color, or religion, or political affiliation. We are humans and we deserve the human dignity and human rights to exist and to coexist, regardless of what some powers in power may believe, promote, teach, and enforce. No one is as strong as all of us together. And now it's being clearly evident that the reflection of someone's complexion does not serve as protection. In case of what happened with Renee Good, that should be a signal to each and every one of us to have more random thoughts about how we can move, live, and breathe and make life about more than living in the now. If you have the ability to speak, to write, to read, something to speak up, to stand up, this is the time to do so, especially in our country and our culture. By any means necessary sometimes means by any means necessary. What has happened for over 450 years, people of color have continued to rise to the forefront in one way or another. From Marcus Garvey to Martin Luther King, we've risen. We've breathed divine revelations with our thoughts and our actions. If you want to hit up, stay engaged, hit the subscribe button on Spotify. If you haven't gone over there yet, go over there after the show is over and subscribe on Spotify. That's one of the primary areas I'm asking people to go because that's on Spotify. You can get the replay audio, take it anywhere you want to go. It's not always easy to access YouTube, but you can do Spotify. You can do Apple Podcasts in the car. You don't have to just hear my voice, my words, my thoughts, my ideas. There's plenty of content there for previous shows and more content coming. I have played it safe in 2025. I have played it safe for the majority of years this podcast has existed. I will not play it safe going into 2026 any longer. I may have some guests that come out here, we tamper down some things, but I will not play it safe. I have lied to myself. I've lied to those closest to me, and speaking that life is about more than living when I'm sitting on the sidelines pretending that small slaps can get the same effect as a mighty punch. An open hand is good for holding and cuddling and settling things down and bringing peace. But in 2026, sometimes that warrior needs to be the oldest person on the battlefield that's still standing. I remember a quote that says something to the effect, beware the oldest warrior on the battlefield who is still standing. This is not only, I think, an earthly fight, a carnal fight. I think this is also a spiritual battle. I will not use the church's lingo of municipalities and demonic influences and all of that. Well, I believe the spirit realm, that existential thing around us, is to be interpreted in different ways. But I do know there's a thing breathing around us. I believe firmly that there's a darkness hanging over this nation. It's been there for a long time. It's just been now exposed. It's been there. It's being exposed again. The blood of my ancestors speak loudly as an African American, as a man of color. They're speaking loudly. Sometimes I even play African music from the African diaspora in my car. The spiritual music there. I let it seep into my soul because I, like many others, me, are so far disconnected from that, which was the core of who we were when we landed on the soil of this nation now known as America. But our random thoughts breathed divine revelation. When we took what was given us, the religions that was force fed into us, the Christianity that was inbred and beat into us to drive out our own beliefs and concepts. We took everything that was done to us. Our ancestors took it all, stirred it up in a pot, remixed it, cooked it up, served up something better, and left something for us, left something for me, left a platform for me to speak on. He said, well, how did it leave you a platform? I stand on the backs and shoulders of writers I do not know, some well known, some barely known, some not known. I stand on the shoulders of those who came before me. I stand on this podcast where there's not such a thing as a podcast. People just sit there, wrote words and spoke words and got words out there. One of the greatest catalysts for change in America and in the world, in my opinion, has been people of color that in one way or another has a connection to the African continent. If we look historically back over things, you can take a deep dive and check these things out yourself. The technology of Egypt, though, when we see in the movies or places that are documentaries or whatever, a lot of the Egyptians are not portrayed as being dark skinned, and some are not. But you look at the artifacts, you will see the noses broken off. Ask yourself why. All the other features are round in certain ways. Ask yourself did why they removed the noses and the lips. Do the research. I'm bringing that to say that humankind, human existence, we, the people of the earth, still stand, still speak, still breathe. It was the people of color that took medicine and science to the Europeans who flipped around and changed the narrative. The Moors took that information there. People of the African diaspora, the African continent was so far well advanced. Simple search of information in my day and time, I didn't really know about it. I didn't have access. Well, I did have access to it through old-fashioned encyclopedias. But when I grew up, it wasn't pushed. It wasn't emphasized. In my life as an adult, when I surrendered my soul to a certain religion, sort of diving deeply in Christianity, the most conservative form there was at the time. My voice gave up, as I said, one of my points is choice to speak. Don't let that happen to you. Don't let that happen. I mentioned in the offset how I do believe in a divine being. I do believe that that divine being, in some ways, interacts with us. Sometimes I refer to that divine being as Jesus. Sometimes I refer to him as Yeshua, a name more closely to the name he actually bore. I believe he existed. But what I don't really believe in is the chopping up of the writings of the early Christian church fathers. And that thing was cherry picked and dissected finally at the Council of Nicaea to give us the modern day Bible with its 66 books, where more people follow the Pauline teachings than they do with the teachings of Jesus, which is really only expounded in what we know as the four Gospels. But I'm not here to give you a sermon. I'm going to say more of that content from my TikTok site. So if you're on TikTok, hit me up over there, because that's where I'm going to go more into this deconstruction of Christian theology as I move into 2026. If you're not a poet, you still have the ability to speak. You still have the ability to live out Thomas Gray's words, English poet Thomas Gray's words. You can create thoughts that breathe life and words that burn. Burn. If you've never sat beside a open fire, other than a fire pit, or you want these camping people that go camping, I'm Blake Apple at Faith, or the fire pit at the house. That's kind of more my thing. Where the biggest thing might be some bugs outside. I ain't trying to get up in the woods yet. I ain't saying one day I won't. My life is getting quite interesting because I'm meeting all sorts of new people. But for now, nah. What the point I'm getting at of the fire is fire. Let your words burn like fire. Breathe new life. If nothing else, take away from this podcast, this episode, this evening, as I wrap it up. Make time for a quiet space. Let your thoughts randomly run through your mind. I guarantee you they will breathe for you divine revelation. Something outside of what you normally would have thought of. Final word I ask you is please subscribe to Life is More Than Living on Spotify. Subscribe to it on YouTube. Subscribe to it on Apple Podcasts. One of those platforms, become a subscriber. Let's build this thing up. Let's build this thing up. And if you're on Facebook, you can send me stars and support what I'm doing. I got some grandiose things that I've been holding back on. I can't hold back on them going into 2026. I've got people counting on me. I've got a wife counting on me. There are promises made to self. And perhaps I'll get up next time and talk about self-sabotage. For we often can also be our own worst enemy. But that's not for tonight, though. For tonight is let your words breathe life. Let your words be that spark in your life and spark life for others. Peace and blessings to all. Life is about more than living a podcast. Signing off the very first episode of 2026.